Big news dropping over yesterday. We got raids opening up, all kinds of shit happening. We have a raid schedule for midnight, Season 1 schedule for midnight, and a bunch of other things happen around World of Warcraft, so let's just jump straight in. Oh, watching the news? No, you're not. You're watching the final giveaway of the year from Samiccus. $140 in BNet balance could be yours, and all you gotta do is watch 1 hour of this shitty stream to get it, boys and girls. Get yourself whatever you want. Hey, maybe you're craving a new mount. Maybe that long boy that you've been wanting could be yours. That's right. Hey, get yourself the Epic Edition. Get yourself pets. Whatever your heart desires could be yours. Get yourself a mount pack. Look, there's plenty of shit that could be yours now. Get yourself the classic Andy pack, even if you want it. All you got to do is watch 1 hour of this shitty stream, and every hour beyond that will give you another point to enter. So enter multiple times. Get yourself some game time. Even go through the BNet store. Get yourself some merch, guys. Get yourself a sweater, the Eternal Judgment armor set, a nice little push pillow there if you want it. Sure, guys, whatever you want could be yours. I'm not judging you on how you spend it. $140 in BNet balance. Get yourself the collector's edition of Midnight even. All you got to do, jump in here Monday through Friday. I'm live 5 a.m. Eastern Time. Watch 1 hour of stream. This giveaway ends on December 23rd, so get it while you can. Are you guys interested in maybe a world event that has you diving deep into the oceans of Azeroth? Well, it's been data mined, and it looks like that's what's going to be happening. So some sort of world event's going to be going down in midnight where we will be gaining skill and ability to dive deep into the oceans of Azeroth. There's some weird shit going on with oceany themes here. Some Ajara stuff may be going down. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, because this isn't the only hint that we're going to be doing underwater stuff at midnight potentially. But yeah, there's some kind of weird event going on. It hasn't been played through yet because it's super buggy right now, so nobody can really test it out. But there's some sort of dive for exploration shit going on in the oceans of Azeroth at midnight that you'll be able to do once that actually is fixed and people can test it out. Besides that, there's also this weird mount. So there's some kind of swimming, dynamic flight, and rideable mount potentially that is launching with midnight. Now, this would be the first of its kind if it is that way. We do have mounts right now that increase flight speed, ground speed, and swim speed. I think there's like 2 or 3 in the game that can do that, but this will be the first one that's a dynamic flying enabled mount. So let's look at this real quick. First off, we have this Storm Ray. This isn't the mount I'm talking about, but yeah, old god-esque looking inspired Storm Ray. Cool. It's got some kind of weird crystal on the back of the seat here. That's an interesting little thing, probably from Xal'atath's zone or something like that. But this is the mount right here that's getting people chatting. So this mount supposedly has the ability to not only increase your ground speed, which is kind of normal for flying mounts, but also dynamically fly and allow swim speed increases. That's right. So it is kind of a scaly looking, maybe aquatic. It doesn't really have a swimming tail. I would expect a fin on the back here. But that's how it's been data mined so far. So this thing supposedly can increase your swim speed and dynamically fly. Again, another hint that maybe some underwater shit is going down in midnight that we don't know about yet. You can't pay me to go back to Vashar or whatever, Vazir. Yeah, look, the whole zone, the underwater zone, I remember that. Yeah, it wasn't a lot of fun. But maybe we're going to get some underwater questing / not really underwater. We'll see. I agree. I think most fanfare around underwater stuff doesn't really exist. People don't want to go back to do underwater stuff, but there's hints out there that we could be dabbling in oceans of Azeroth kind of shit. Hey, maybe Ajara, maybe some stuff going down. We'll have to see. That's all speculation right now, but interesting hints. Well, if you live in China, you just get to experience the best version of WoW. Let's be honest, guys. The Chinese just get some crazy shit that we'll never get here. A world PvP event is kicking off in China, one of the craziest things I've ever seen in WoW, where the winner of the World PvP event, the guild that wins it, will be able to name the frickin' server. That's right, they'll get to rename the server. So if you don't know already, these Titan Reforged servers have opened up in China. Essentially what it is, because the servers were gone in China for a while where they lost WoW, they're getting these classic versions of the game back because they missed all that stuff. And like this crazy Titan Forged event where they're just going to get all the classic versions back to back to back. Well, Blizzard and NetEase have announced a new World PvP event that'll take place inside of Blackrock Mountain. During the event, players will earn 1 point per player enemy defeated while in Blackrock Mountain, up to 3 for the same player within a 3-day span, so you can't just camp and kill the same guy over and over. The guild that accumulates the highest number of points will gain naming rights to their server for an entire month. That is crazy. I always loved world PvP. You guys know this. I've said it many, many times on stream before. Give me some Wintergrass. Give me some kind of open world PvP shit. That's my favorite. I want to go invade a city. I've already said it. When Silvermoon goes live, I'm making a raid, and we as the Alliance are invading the Horde-only zones of Silvermoon. I want to see how deep we can push into that shit. But that's besides the point. Why does China get this cool stuff and we don't? It's going to be a who can hold Black Rock Mountain, the longest event. This is really cool. The little server naming thing that they're going to get to do, kind of cool too. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be restrictions on what you can name a server. Nobody wants, some kind of reference to cock in their server name, but that's what I would do. But it's still a cool event. I guess you'll be immortalized at least for a month. You get to rename the server and everything, and a really cool take on PvP that I wish they would bring here to the NA and EU servers and stuff like that. But yeah, China getting cool stuff once again. We'll keep up with the kind of shit they get. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll get some stuff like them. Okay, healing, bursting, reduced, and midnight beta development nodes. So a bunch more class changes going on. I'm not going to go through all these. Another big round of class changes, all kinds of shit, percentage increases and decreases across the board for basically every class in the game. You guys can read through these. I'll link this entire blue post in the chat, but there's something else at the bottom that I want to talk about here. This will also be linked down below the YouTube video. But besides all the class changes, there's a bunch of stuff happening with the in-game add-ons and in-game stuff going on. So here we go. For user interface and accessibility, major defensive buffs will now appear as large icons in the center of your raid frames. They also added the ability to set a custom color for raid frame health bars instead of your default green or class colors. They added new bleed dispel indicators, which is nice to raid frames. They added ambiance sounds for the Haranir scene on the character select screen, so there you go. The dungeon filter and pre-made group finder is now a fly-out menu to accommodate the long list of dungeons, so I guess that makes it more visually, you can see it better. Art has been added for journeys into the adventure guide, journeys in the adventure guide. So some good art added. Fine. These are interesting. New combat audio alerts. That's right. They've added support for announcing player and target spellcasts, settings including whether to announce them at a cast start or a cast end, format, minimum cast time, and throttle. So there you go. Some of those DBM capabilities, other, raid add-on capabilities being added to the game in terms of callouts. So that's pretty nice. They also added support for announcing when a player's target starts casting an interrupt spell and when the player's target is interrupted. Added support for reading your primary resource like mana, energy, and rage. Settings include percentage, threshold, format, and throttling. So really cool for accessibility features, but also a lot of people who don't have issues with sight or anything like that love to use these things for callouts in big-time fights. So this will be a nice thing, and it seems very customizable for the most part. Maybe not as customizable as some of the add-ons that exist out there, but they keep adding stuff to this stuff. It just keeps getting better. That's the good thing. Right now, the in-game Blizzard add-ons are the worst they'll ever be. I guess that's one way you could take it. New interface damage meters. Avoidable damage taken category now displays a message notifying the player if they are in a non-supported instance. Changing the display segment of one window will change it for all of them. Increased the stacking priority of the source window so that it appears above most other UI elements. Yeah, you kind of want damage meters to be at the forefront, so that's good. We want it to be in front of a lot of things. I wonder if it goes in front of the minimap. Some people I've seen put it up there. I don't know why, but some people do. Change the minimum allowed height for damage meter in the edit mode so it can be sized smaller, so that's good. Fixed an issue where damage meter sessions were being cleared when changing zones. Interesting. Yeah, so you don't want that to happen. You want to be able to look back at some of the shit that's gone down. More add-on interface stuff. Remove restrictions for players' secondary resources, combo points, and so on. So add-ons can be created. So this is good. They're removing more of the add-on restrictions, which means some of these add-on developers that said they weren't going to be participating in Midnight are now going to participate, and I have an announcement of one of them in particular. We've got the return of LVUI, boys. That's right, LVUI returning They announced it on their Twitter here that they intend to return for patch 12.0. So those of you guys who enjoy LVUI and really like using it, they did say they're going to be coming back. They haven't gotten into exactly what their shit's going to look like or how they're going to be doing things. But as of right now, basics such as anchor, skins, chat, bags, and action bars are already patched in for beta. So there you go, LVUI returning for those of you who really love it. The big announcement here, Season 1 kickoff, guys. We have the Season 1 kickoff for Midnight, finally. LVUI is not 100% sure. They're not 100% sure that it's returning with all of its features. Obviously, some of those features will be lacking. Some things that LVUI used to be used for will not be used anymore, but they did say they're coming back in a sense, right? So some of the aesthetic stuff that you like about LVUI should be available when it finally goes back. I don't really care for LVUI. I don't either. I never used it. I never really cared for the flat look that it creates. Like I said, I love my griffins at the bottom of my screen, and LVUI usually got rid of that. But those people who like it, hey, it's coming back. But this is the big deal, guys. Midnight Season 1 schedule. So Midnight arrives on March 2nd, 2026, bringing 3 new raids and new dungeons and fresh PvP content. We now know Season 1 will kick off March 17th. So that means 2 weeks after the expansion launches, we'll be getting the launch of the first set of raids at Midnight. Now, which raids will be launching on March 17th? Because we got a 3-raid schedule now. Void Spire raid and Dream Rift raid will be launching in both Raid Finder, normal, and heroic difficulties. Raid Finder Wing 1 for Void Spire. And then you got Season 1 dungeons kicking off just heroic and mythic 0 difficulties like we did last season. PvP Season 1 kicks off, and Bountiful Delves kick off. That all happens on March 17th. For the week of March 24th, we're going to have the Void Spire raid open up with Story Mode, Raid Finder Wing 2, and Mythic difficulties, so Mythic raiding will kick off, and then Dream Rift raid will also enter Mythic difficulty. We got Season 1 Mythic Plus finally kicking off on March 24th, which means you're not kicking off with Mythic Plus Season 1 in its full form until 3 weeks after the expansion launches, essentially. So I guess you'll have plenty of time to quest, gear up. I actually like that. I like to be able to take my time and have those first couple weeks just enjoying the questing, you know, seeing the zones, experiencing it all without the rush of feeling like, oh shit, I got to get ready for that Mythic Plus season to kick off. So this will be nice. Give you some time to gear out, experience everything. Also, I did like the Mythic 0 launch. It allows you to go in and see the zones and their mythic difficulties before really ramping up. Maybe learn some tanking routes for myself, hey, if I want to learn them. So this is good. March 31st, we get the March on Quel'Danas raid launch. So that'll be the third of those 3 raids on normal, heroic, and mythic difficulties all at once. So this one opens up with all difficulties. And then Void Spire raid Finder Wing 3. And then on April 7th, you get the March on Quel'Danas Story Mode and Raid Finder mode. April 7th, I should say, Story Mode and Raid Finder. So that's the schedule. That's how it's going to work out for that first season of Midnight, now we know, which means you also have the kickoff of beta testing. That's right. So we got Mythic Plus beta testing. The first season of Mythic Plus in beta test is now live. You could test Magister's Terrace, Mysara Caverns, Nexus Point Xanax, and Wind Runner Spire. Those are the testable ones right now. There'll be a rotation of more testable dungeons, I'm sure. But those are the Mythic Plus difficulties that you can test right now in beta. Finally, speaking of beta, maybe not so beta. Beta males? Maybe. Marriage in WoW. That's right. Have you dreamed of actually getting married in WoW? Well, you might be able to. Here's the thing, guys. Marriage in WoW has been a thing for a long time. If you haven't been around the WoW community, you know about wedding ceremonies in WoW, some of them historically being spoiled by the other faction, raiding the marriage sites and stuff. It's been funny. Fun stuff has come out of that. Well, Blizzard, when they teased housing, teased this little scene here where it looked like a wedding was going on, and somebody commented on it saying, hey, did you see the player wedding thing? And Blizzard commented back saying, well, it won't be a secret if you're sitting there commenting on it. So, potential for in-game weddings, that's right. The old husband and wife guild drama can now spill out into open world shit. Absolutely wonderful. This is not my cup of tea, but those of you who maybe want to get married in the game virtually, I don't know. No, whatever. Make it an option for people, I guess. I don't know what it would mean. The thing is, nobody should get married on Moonguard because, unless it's an open marriage, because how are you going to participate in those late-night Moonguard orgies? You can't. So, yeah, it's coming back. Greg can finally... Well, what's going to happen now is Greg's wife is going to find out that marriage can happen in WoW. She'll be worried that Greg might happily get married in the game. So she's finally going to install the game on her own computer, make a character and force Greg to marry her in the game as well, so he could have an unhappy marriage in WoW and outside of WoW. So that's great for him. Moving on to the final announcement here. Wrap up of Season 3 DPS charts, guys. That's right, with the launch of the final patch of The War Within, we have our final standings for DPS, as it'll probably close out until really the launch of the pre-patch for Midnight, with all these big changes that we've talked about for classes. So here it is, boys, your final standings. I'm not going to get into the overall damage from bosses and everything, but your final standings in terms of DPS across the board. Here it is. This is for Raid. Okay, Raid standings. Elemental Shaman finished out number 1. Arcane Mage number 2. Marksmanship Hunter number 3. Ass Rogue 4. Beast Mastery Hunter 5. Destro Warlock, Fire Mage, Frost DK, Furry Warrior, and Augmentation Evoker. That wraps up your top 10. Augmentation Evoker moved up 1 spot here. We see also Marksmanship moved up 1 spot in the top 10. So there you go. Those are your top 10. You got your middle boys here: Sub-Titty Rogue, Windwalker Monk, Balanced Druid, Unholy Death Knight, Shadow Priest, Devastation Evoker, Affliction Warlock, Havoc Demon Hunter, Feral Druid, and Retribution Paladin. That wraps up your next top 10 there. Your biggest mover up in this last patch here was Affliction Warlock, actually. They moved up 3 spots. Actually, Survival Hunter, we're going to talk about in a second, moved up 4 spots. And your biggest mover down was Feral Druid and Ret Pally, moved down 2 spots on this chart. Wrapping up your final boys here, your last 6: Survival Hunter, Demonology Warlock, Enhancement Shaman, Arms Warrior, Outlaw Rogue, and Frost Mage, finishing at the very bottom. Yeah, meters from the 12 guilds that actually are still rating. I know, yeah, true. The rating scene's a little bit, sketchy right now and everything. But this is the best kind of look we have at what the final standings are in terms of raid. And that is all for today in terms of news.